All right, let's dive in. We are about to explore one of the most epic, sprawling stories ever told. It's a story that stretches from the very beginning of time all the way to its final conclusion, and it all revolves around one single powerful idea: a kingdom.
So what if we looked at the Bible in a totally new way? What if it's not just a book of rules, a list of do's and don'ts, but instead it's the grand, sweeping story of a divine king? A king who establishes, loses, promises, and then ultimately restores his perfect kingdom? I'm telling you, looking at it this way, well, it changes everything.
So, every great story has a beginning, right? And this one starts with an absolutely perfect blueprint for a kingdom, set up right from the very first moments of creation.
Now, to get our heads around this story, we need a really simple framework. And it turns out pretty much every kingdom you can think of is built on these three essential pillars. First, you've got to have a king, right? Someone with authority. Then you need a people, the citizens of that kingdom. And finally, you need a law, the principles that hold the whole thing together. Keep these three in mind because we're going to see them pop up again and again.
And you know what? These pillars were perfectly established right at the start, in Eden. The king, well, that was God himself, the creator of everything. The people were Adam and Eve. And get this, they weren't just subjects, they were royal representatives, tasked with caring for the world on the king's behalf. And the law? It wasn't some huge complicated legal code. It was just one simple command, built completely on a relationship of trust.
But then, the story takes a tragic turn, a rebellion. Adam and Eve made a choice to trust another voice, to try and seize authority for themselves, and this one act of treason shattered their relationship with the king. The consequence was severe: exile. They were banished from the kingdom, and the world began to spiral into chaos. Just like that, the kingdom was lost.
But that is not where the story ends, not even close. What comes next is this long period of waiting and anticipation, a time filled with promises that the kingdom wasn't gone for good, that one day it would be restored. And these weren't just vague, hopeful wishes. They were specific promises woven right into the fabric of history. A man named Abraham was told that kings would come from his family line. Centuries later, King David was given an incredible promise that his kingdom and his throne would last forever, pointing to some future ultimate king. And then the prophet Daniel has this jaw-dropping vision of a son of man being given an everlasting kingdom that would never, ever be destroyed. The plot was definitely thickening.
Now, during this long wait, a particular group of people was chosen, the nation of Israel. And their job was so unique. They were meant to be a living, breathing prototype of the kingdom, a kind of model society, a kingdom of priests that would show the rest of the world what it actually looked like to live under the rule and blessing of the one true king.
And then, after all those centuries of promises and prophecies, the story takes its most dramatic turn yet. The waiting is finally over. The king arrives, in person.
And this was his central announcement. This was his headline. Not a suggestion, not a nice philosophy, but a declaration of reality. Notice he didn't say the kingdom will be near someday. He said it is near. His arrival meant the rule and reign of God was breaking into our world in a completely new way.
So, who was this King Jesus? What were his credentials? Well, they were off the charts. He was a direct descendant of King David, fulfilling that ancient promise. He showed complete authority over the natural world, calming a raging storm with just a word. He did something only the ultimate king could possibly do. He forgave sins. And then, after his resurrection, his identity was made crystal clear. He is Lord of all.
Now, with his arrival, the king also brought in a new kind of law for his kingdom. This wasn't just a minor update to the law of Moses. No, this went so much deeper. While the old law focused more on external actions that defined a nation, the king's new law was all about the inner transformation of the heart. His people would be defined not by rituals, but by a radical love for God and for each other.
Okay, so this brings us to the part of the story we're actually living in right now. It's this fascinating, dynamic phase that's often described as already but not yet. The kingdom is here, it's a reality, but its final ultimate form hasn't been fully revealed yet.
And this is absolutely crucial to understand. The king isn't just waiting around to rule someday. Before he left, he made this incredible, world-changing statement. He has all authority right now. He is actively reigning from his throne as his kingdom spreads across the earth.
So who are the people, the citizens of this expanding kingdom? Today, they're known as the Church, a global, multi-ethnic community of people who have pledged their allegiance to the King. The Bible actually says they've been literally transferred into the kingdom of the Son, and their mission? To act as his ambassadors, representing the King and his values in every neighborhood, city, and nation on earth.
And the law they live by is just so beautifully simple and profound. The king gave them a new command, to love one another. But here's the kicker. This isn't something they're expected to just muscle through on their own. No way. It's a whole new way of life that's only made possible by the active presence and guidance of the king's own spirit living in them.
But we still have that not yet part of the story to resolve, don't we? And this leads us to the grand finale, the final act, the epic climax where the kingdom is at last fully and finally perfected.
The whole narrative has been building to this one moment, the king's triumphant return. And he's not coming back as a humble teacher this time. Oh no, he returns as the conquering King of Kings and Lord of Lords. This is when he achieves the final, ultimate victory over all rebellion, all evil, and all death once and for all. And just look at what this perfected kingdom looks like. The land is completely renewed, a new heaven and a new earth. The people are finally home, living in the direct, unfiltered presence of their king forever. And the law is perfectly fulfilled because the king's will is finally done on earth just as it is in heaven. The original blueprint isn't just restored, it's made even more glorious than it was at the beginning.
This chart, wow, it just lays out the entire journey so clearly. You can literally trace our three pillars, king, people, and law, as they develop through each of the 5 stages. From God as the king in Eden, to the promise of a king for the prototype people of Israel, to the arrival of Jesus, to his current reign through his ambassadors, the church, and finally, to his triumphant rule over all of redeemed humanity. It's one single, cohesive story from start to finish.
So when you zoom all the way out and look at this grand cosmic story, what's the ultimate point? It's not just about power or dominion. It's about relationship. The king's deepest desire is to create an eternal, loving family that gets to live together with him in his perfect divine kingdom.
And that really brings us to the final crucial question, because this isn't just some ancient tale we're telling. It's presented as an ongoing story that invites every single one of us to respond. So the real question this whole narrative leaves us with is this: if this is the true story of reality, where do you fit in?